I'm Jeremiah Johnson, and uh, I teach I teach writing and literature, world literature, at the University of North Georgia, and I've decided, in the interest of just initially broadening my students' understanding of world literature, specifically poetry, past and present, and also given a fascination with the sonnet form in poetry, which I heard recently there was a university that decided they weren't going to teach sonnets anymore because of kind of the trend in critical race theory, where they were like, well, maybe this form of poetry is us trying to control the way that people see poetry, and so we're just not going to teach the sonnet anymore. But it's interesting to me looking at sites such as the Poetry Foundation and others that the sonnet, um, if you look into it, is something that's still a popular medium with Hispanic and African American poets, as well as across genders. So it's still very much alive, and it's not like it's a white male thing, despite myself being a white male. It's still very much in vogue with those who write poetry across the whole spectrum. And so, with all that in mind, and wanting to just initially broaden my students' perspective, but also for anybody who wants to chime in on this, I've decided to start a weekly series in which we look at poetry, at particularly we look at poetry through the medium of the sonnet, but again, both past and present, across different genders, nationalities, um, cultures, and so that's what this is. And I wanted to start off that the first one here, it was I could have gone with Shakespeare, but I was like, let's go a little more recent, and I wanted to talk about a poem today called "The New Colossus." It's a sonnet, and I have a link. What I'm going to do every week when I do this is I have a link here at the bottom where you can go, and as I talk about the sonnet, you can follow along, you can look at it, read it right there in front of you in the link at the bottom. Okay? But this poem by Emma Lazarus was written in 1883. All right, and so it's a little old, but it's not Shakespeare old. It's sort of in the middle somewhere there. And so again, the New Colossus, written by Emma Lazarus in 1883, to commemorate slash raise money to construct a pedestal for the Statue of Liberty. Okay, so this poem is about the Statue of Liberty, and written partly to raise money to construct a pedestal for it. And so I'm going to read the poem to you here, and I'm just going to comment on it some from a poet's perspective. I've been writing poetry now for, I guess, 23, 24 years, um, and occasionally I may throw one of my own sonnets in this weekly sonnet series. I won't do that very often because I believe it's more important to introduce you to other people's works, the poems I like, and then the poets I've enjoyed, and then occasionally, like I said, I may throw something of my own at you. All right, but so let me dive into the New Colossus here. But again, backing up, what is a sonnet? What is a sonnet? And some of you may be new to that concept. Traditionally, a sonnet has 14 lines to it, and you can look at Emma Lazarus's example if you want to follow along with me. 14 lines to it. It rhyme, and I'm giving very basic here. Okay, maybe in later talks I'll go into more details, but 14 lines. It had this thing called meter. So if you look at the first line of the new Colossus there, it says, "Not like the brazen giant of Greek fame." And so you've got this thing called iambic pentameter, which is basically just the flow of it. And so, you know, to just, without going into super detail on it, just that line, the way you would read it, if you were really trying to emphasize the meter of it, is you would say, "Not like the brazen giant of Greek fame." All right? And so just trying to emphasize this inbuilt pattern that goes with each line of the poem, okay? So traditional sonnet has this meter to it, this da-da, 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 the five da-das, and that's called iambic pentameter when you write your lines that way. Traditional sonnets written in iambic pentameter, they have rhyme, and then they also have 14 lines to them. So we'll just work with that for today, and I will go ahead and read the sonnet to you. The New Colossus by Emma Lazarus. And again, you can click the link at the bottom if you want to read along with me. Not like the brazen giant of Greek fame, with conquering limbs astride from land to land, here at our sea-washed sunset gates shall stand a mighty woman with a torch whose flame is the imprisoned lightning, and her name Mother of Exiles. From her beacon hand glows worldwide welcome. Her mild eyes command the air-bridged harbor that twin cities frame. "Keep, ancient lands, your storied pomp," cries she with silent lips. "Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door." All right, so a few things that I like about this poem is, one, it's just tied to history. I tell my students sometimes, I feel like you can like history and not like literature, poetry, novels, things like that. But you can like history and not like literature. But I don't think it's possible to love literature and not love history and not like history, because literature is so tied to history. And so this poem, The New Colossus by Emma Lazarus, it's about the Statue of Liberty, right? And she starts off, I'll just go line by line. She starts off, "Not like the brazen giant of Greek fame, with conquering limbs astride from land to land." So one of the ancient wonders of the world was this huge statue, and it was called the Colossus, right? And it's just this fierce, masculine, warrior statue with its arm raised, right? And it like stood across this inlet, right? It stood across this harbor, one leg on side of it, one leg on the other side of the harbor. I'm not even sure if this thing was actually real, but there's legend about it, and maybe it was a real statue, right? With conquering limbs astride from land to land. And so she's making reference to this ancient Greek statue, this warrior, and she says, "Not like that giant." Here, and so she's contrasting that giant with the giant she's talking about now, the Statue of Liberty. "Here at our sea-washed sunset gates shall stand a mighty woman with a torch, whose flame is the imprisoned lightning." Love, a great term there, right? she's like the torch that the Statue of Liberty holds. She refers to the flame in it, as an imprisoned lightning, a lightning that's been bound, right? And her name, the Mother of Exiles. Yeah, we call her the Statue of Liberty, but Emma is calling her the Mother of Exiles, the mother of people who, for one reason or another, have had to leave their homeland, and come to a new land. So she is the Mother of Exiles. From her beacon hand, her torch is a beacon to attract people who need help, people who have had to leave their land for whatever reason. Whether they're fleeing a war, or whether they're seeking, just a better life economically for themselves, or want their kids to be able to have a college education, whatever, right? So from her beacon hand, her beacon, which is up there glowing, sending welcoming the world to come, right? From her beacon hand glows worldwide welcome. Her mild eyes, she's not scary and fierce like that ancient Greek warrior, Her eyes are mild, she's welcoming. Her mild eyes command. Command, if your eyes command something, they can see it all, right? And she's tall, so her eyes command the view, right? The air-bridged harbor that twin cities frame. And so the New York harbor, right, which connects these twin cities, the different sections of New York, right? And her eyes frame that area. Or the harbor frames the different sections of New York City. Keep, ancient land, your storied pomp, cries she with silent lips. Of course, her lips don't really cry, but we're thinking metaphorically, right? Here, metaphors where you say one thing is another thing, right? And so, cries, keep ancient lands, your storied pomp, cries she with silent lips. She's like, at Greece, you can keep your pomp. Pomp is like pomp and circumstance, like da 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 da, right? Where it's like, look at us, look how great we are, And she's like, keep your pomp, keep your fame, Greece, other ancient lands. She says, what do I want? I don't want your fame. I want your tired. I want your poor. I want your exiles, the people who have had to leave you, the people who are looking for a place to go, to maybe have a chance at a better life, the quote-unquote American dream, right? Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses, you're tired and you're poor who just want a place where they can breathe, where they can breathe more freely. And here is where she kind of clashes. I mean, obviously this poem connects to our time, right? In the sense of there's so many people who are just who are trying to get into America because it really does, in many cases, offer the possibility of a better life. Although when they get here, they often find they really have to fight to get that better life. They find that it's not easy when things get here. And so for Emma Lazarus, that's what the Statue of Liberty represents, an opportunity. Was that opportunity always a reality? No. Even in the days when the Statue of Liberty was set up and you had all these immigrants coming into Ellis Island, they often found that the dream that had been sold to them or advertised to them in their homeland was not what they experienced when they got here. They found at Ellis Island, there's a story I remember reading about a woman who got to Ellis Island, and because there wasn't an interpreter there who knew her language, she was thrown into an asylum. Because they just assumed she was crazy because they couldn't understand what she was saying, right? And so it was pretty rough, as a lot of people set foot here, and if they did get, managed to matriculate through, the border guard and all, and and get out into American society, then they had to work really hard, obviously, to make it, right? As they still do. Um, and so Emma is saying, "This is my dream for these people," um, and it's a great dream. It's a great vision. Didn't the practical working out of it was more difficult. I gotta say though, in line 12, it's a little harder for us to take line 12, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. These days we're like, whoa, 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 you're calling immigrant people groups trying to come into this country, you're calling them wretched refuse. Refuse is like trash that floats up. And so this is one of those cases where, a writer of another time, she means well, Emma means well. She wants these people to feel welcome. In our day and age, maybe a different term than wretched refuse of your teeming shore, right? Send these, the homeless, tempest tossed to me. They've been tossed by storms. They've been out there in boats, trying to make it. A lot of them don't make it. They're storm tossed, tempest tossed. They're the homeless. And Emma is imagining the Statue of Liberty saying, "Send these people to me. I want to welcome them." And again, in our day and age, we don't, even in that time period, they aren't always given that welcome mat. The people arriving on our shores, the people seeking a better life here, that oftentimes the welcome mat doesn't feel very welcoming. But it's the idea, it's the wish for this to be the case, right? I lift my lamp beside the golden door. So the Statue of Liberty lifting her lamp as a beacon, kind of almost like a lighthouse for people to find who are trying to come here seeking that life. And so, again, I like the poem because it's connected to history, and it's also this perspective of it may be naive in places. It may, to our modern ears, even be a touch offensive once or twice. But it's idealism. This is the ideal. And we need that sometimes these days. Oftentimes we're so cynical, we're so critical these days, that a touch of idealism can be nice. So that's the new Colossus by Emma Lazarus. And next week, I'll be chatting up a new sonnet. I don't know yet if it'll be earlier in time than this sonnet or later, or who it'll be by. But keep tuned for that. Thanks for listening.